This is Jonathan Ferguson, the Keeper of Firearms Artillery at the Royal Armouries Museum in the UK, which houses a collection of thousands of iconic weapons from throughout history. And I'm your host, Dave Jewett, and since Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning just hit theatres, we thought it'd be fun to take a look back at Ethan Hunt's arsenal across the Mission Impossible franchise.
Oh, that's such a well-sold hit. The infamous bicep cocking scene. Welcome to the gun show.
React to those guns reloaded. If you want a longer, deeper, extended version of this episode, then your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to check out our Patreon. But without further ado, I will throw it over to Jonathan.
Doesn't he look young? The original Mission Impossible. Well, not the original. Some of us watched the series when we were on repeats when we were kids.
We've not included footage of that.
Does the original series still get shown? I haven't seen it in donkey's years.
Maybe in some sort of living facilities.
Wow. Right, so next to that very antiquated laptop, and some amazing Usenet use group names there. That was very 90s. Is one of these, a Beretta Cougar. Insert joke here. A curious looking beast. I think lesser known among anyone that isn't an aficionado of firearms, I suppose, because the frame, the bottom half, and even the back bit looks very 92, and indeed it is derived, of course, from that more famous, rather nicer looking series of firearms. The Cougar, or Model 8000 Cougar, to give it its full name, I do think of as a bit of a 90s gun. It was never a huge success, and I'm not really entirely sure why they bothered, to be honest, but it does the same stuff as the conventional Beretta. Yes, it's more compact. I suppose that was the idea, was something shorter than the Beretta 92 compact. This is a bit of a brick. It's very wide, short but wide, and still quite a handful, as all of these Beretta 92 derived designs are. They also did try and tuck in the grip here to make it less of a handful. So it is in fact a different frame design as well. I'm not quite sure why Ethan's so keen on it, but we'll see. Excellent confused face acting from Tom there. This is before Collateral, where he really got some good training, and to be fair, it's what a lot of people were doing in the 90s, with a sort of semi-teacup grip, bit of a weaver stance going on. Oh, it's a full-on teacup now.
Finger very on the trigger.
Yes, yeah. Strictly speaking, certainly these days, that would be frowned upon, even if he thinks she is a threat. She visibly isn't an armed threat, so bad form, I would say. But I think he's still for 1996, he still looks pretty competent with a handgun for a Hollywood actor. This thing I had forgotten all about, and I still don't know why it has 3D written on the side. Is this meant to be some early 3D printed? It's not, is it?
It's like disguised as radio parts, right?
Yeah, but why 3D? Oh, 3D audio or something? No, that doesn't make sense. I don't know. Anyway, apart from that, this is a fairly conventional design of a tip-down barrel Derringer, but yeah, with parts concealed in a stereo, a hi-fi, a boombox, a ghetto blaster, whatever you want to call it. Now, I think this was Bapty & Co. again in the UK. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm sure I saw a prototype version of this prop show up at Prop Store, but now I'm not so sure if it was Bapty or not. Anyway, this will have been made probably from scratch by an armourer. I don't recognise the barrel unit from anything commercial. If you do, let us know in the comments. It's not one that I've sort of spent a lot of time looking at. But yeah, looking at that barrel cluster, I think that's been entirely fabricated as a prop. But then if that is a blank, that says it's definitely getting shot, in which case they would have had to have made a whole new gun. So now I'm doubting myself, and maybe there's a 2-shot Derringer somewhere that they have heavily customised. I may have to do some more research. Or just read the comments, who will no doubt have figured it out. So we've got a still there of the suppressor. So that might actually be a first, to have a silencer attached to a double-barreled weapon. So we have, in theory, we have two holes running through a set of baffles, stack of baffles or similar. And I'm not actually sure. I suppose it wouldn't affect the report very much. Yeah, don't know. If there's communication, which I think would have to be, between the top and bottom hole through the suppressor, it might make it slightly less effective. There's no reason why it wouldn't work, though. And we have one or two suppressors in the collection that are offset, so they sort of look like they're hanging off the bottom of the barrel rather than centered on it. There are the good reasons, I think, for centering a suppressor, but there's no reason, in theory, why this thing wouldn't work. It might be a bit louder than it would be otherwise. Anything kind of spy or intelligence work like this, popular culture absolutely loves something you can hide, disguise, assemble from bits. And to be fair, that's quite a good one. Put it this way, I wouldn't like to be someone checking a scanner screen for parts of a firearm like that. She used to be in everything in the 90s. Can't remember her name. Oh, Yancey Butler, I think her name was. Well done, brain. Completely irrelevant to this, but...
Now we're on to the worst one.
The massively disappointing MI2. The anticipation for this among early 20s folk like me was immense, and it was just such a disappointment. That's really weird. What the heck is that supposed to be? I saw this once in the cinema, was massively disappointed, and have never watched it again. So I'm afraid you may have to fill me in on what this is supposed to be.
Well, while the sick Limp Bizkit track plays in the background...
Hey, I genuinely, not guilty pleasure, really like Limp Bizkit. Just putting that out there.
Hey, I saw him live. I'm with you.
Me too. Carry on.
So this is supposed to be a Dan-Inject JM Standard, customized as a rocket launcher. It looks like some sort of air gun. So what you see at the bottom is the silver thing is like the compressed air canister.
Right. I think it's a tranquilizer gun.
Or a delivery device for the plot MacGuffin.
Yeah, that's right. It's a plot delivery device. Yeah, we have a couple of tranquilizer type rifles. I think we only have the whale conservation variant where they retrieve biopsy samples from whales in the wild using them. Another gadgety type gun that isn't really a gun.
Yeah, it's 100% that. They've painted... The ones that I've been able to find are green, so they've swapped the paint out, added a red dot sight into it, and a wire-fed rocket munition.
Yeah, it's such a weird thing. I mean, red dot sights you will find on modern tranquilizer rifles, I'm sure, because they're great for aiming whatever you got, really, frankly. So we have here, it's either a 92 or a 96 Brigadier with the reinforced slide, Beretta again, and what looks like target sights.
God, this movie sucks.
Have you ever fired two guns while jumping through the air? Tom Cruise has.
I mean, you've done two guns, but you weren't jumping at the time.
No. Look, to be clear, I have no problem with movies involving people firing two guns while jumping through the air. Or firing them into the air and going, Any of that is fine. It's just probably not what I want from my Mission Impossible film. Do we know if they are 92s or 96s? I guess they'd be 92s, because 9mm is the more common movie caliber.
Yeah, it's the 92 Compact and the 92 FS Brigadier.
Oh, two different ones. I missed that. The Berettas have that Terminator 2 kind of phased choo-choo sound to them. Because if a shot's worth showing once, it's worth showing 8 times in a row. I think if this had come out in the 80s, we probably would have thought it was great. I think fans of the show would have hated it. Interesting. So I don't think I ever noticed that before. The reinforcement that you see halfway down the slide isn't the only thing. It's basically everything forward of that is beefed up. So the sort of elegant sort of hoop at the front of the 92 slide is massively chunkier and makes it look really weird in these close-ups, especially from the angles and with the lenses they're using. I've held one multiple times, never noticed that. I don't remember it anyway. Now, this thing. What an odd duck this is. The South African Vektor CP1. It's been in a couple of sci-fi films because it looks so sci-fi, but it is in fact a conventional self-loading pistol, just with a singular design aesthetic. Now, of course, the character is South African, so there's some thought gone into that. Although, You're not necessarily going to travel with a South African, or you're not necessarily going to buy a South African pistol just because you're South African, and you're not necessarily going to travel around with it. This front view here, you can see a little bit of red on the front of the trigger guard. You might not be able to on your screens, but I can see it. And that is the safety on the CP1. One of the many things I annoy my wife with watching films. He's not going to shoot him, he's got the safety on. Yeah, I really need to get out of that habit. Now, you can see a little sliver of it when the safety is on. Also has a trigger safety that's red or blaze orange or whatever. But if we press in from the inside, there's the red on the safety. So that says, danger, Will Robinson. The gun is ready to fire. And it would make sense that if he's about to point this and shoot it, that the safety is off.
This is a Beretta 92F. It's a very accurate close-range weapon. Don't point it at me.
Sorry.
So yes, it is a Beretta 92F, or probably an FS actually by this point. He says 15 rounds. I wouldn't have called them rounds to someone that doesn't necessarily know what a round is, but she can probably work that out from context. She gives you a rough idea of how many shots she has, because she's not going to be actively counting them before she runs out. He explains that when it's empty, it locks open, and he's even giving her extra magazines. Interesting, you slam them in like the batteries into a flashlight? Was that?
Shove the other one in, like the batteries in the flashlight in the kitchen.
Maybe not the analogy I would have chosen. I don't remember ever slamming a battery into a torch. Depends on the torch design, I suppose. Also, you shouldn't slam your magazines in. It's bad. It's not really that bad, but our armourer would want me to tell you that. More important, I think, to tell people to slam in, especially a pistol mag, because you want it to be, if it's not fully seated, it falls out, you fire the first shot, the mag falls out. Ask me how I know. This is why a lot of immediate action drills are something along the lines of slam the magazine, slap the magazine, operate the pistol or weapon. That's very good. That's really good sort of storytelling with guns in a film. She's had the basics from him, but it's a lot to take in, and especially in a high stress situation to use. So we get a nice close up of her, remembering that slide back means it's empty, ejects the magazine, no problem. Then she brings the fresh magazine up and fumbles it, tries to put it in the wrong way around, realizes and turns it around. They could have just glossed over that entirely and not shown you that close up. And you see some fumbling and she has it back in action. But it raises the tension and the stakes to see her actively struggling. She's clearly capable, but doesn't have the knowledge. Little details like that I always enjoy.
The script supervisor paid attention to the number of rounds being fired as well. It's that 15 that Ethan mentions. Which is like a small thing, but it shows that someone's also been paying attention to that as well, which I like.
I love that too. In fact, I was just about to ask you, did you count the rounds? Because in all the excitement, I kind of forgot myself. But that, again, really good. So someone that has the sort of will and aptitude, you might argue, because not everyone would be able to shoot a pistol and hit what they're aiming at, even at that distance, in that stressful situation. But if we assume all that about the character, the way she's depicted as picking up and running with a pistol that she's not used before, I think is really good. Yeah, it's just, it feels plausible. You don't have to go, she's got a military background, or go the other way, and like in Commando, where she fires the rocket launcher the wrong way around because she doesn't know what she's doing, which actually is probably quite forgivable. The character is given enough information to do what she needs to do. There's that tension that she might not be able to pull it off, but she does manage to pull it off. And the bad guy looks a bit surprised by it as well.
Hey, just quickly popping up to say, if you're enjoying this episode, we have a longer, deeper, extended edition, plus over a dozen other Director's Cut episodes over on our Patreon. Each patron goes a long way into keeping this project alive, but whether you're watching along on YouTube or come and join the Patreon, we wanted to say thank you for watching, thank you for all of your support, and now I'll get back to the video.
Oh, good lord. It's a good thing he's wearing a baggy boiler suit for that monstrosity. What have they done to that Desert Eagle? Some sort of red dot? Some sort of compensator? Oh, okay, it's meant to be... That's bizarre.
Yeah, I don't know why they used a real weapon as a basis for a grapple gun. There's nothing about the Desert Eagle that says, fit me with grapple tools. Surely you just use a bespoke, custom-made grapple gun.
No, I'm not a fan of that, unless the idea was that it was also capable of firing lethal rounds. If you're going to make a fictional tool, gun-shaped tool... then why base it on one of the most iconic pistols ever that by this stage has been in countless movies already. Really strange choice. The cruise run. It's just occurring to me that I think I've seen all of these things only once. That's an interesting one. Why on earth does he have one of these, a G36K, in a sort of takedown sniper rifle setup? Now, it's broken down into perfectly acceptable bits, you know. It's not like they've come up with some silly prop that breaks in half or something. More than anything, why bother taking off the carrying handle and optic? Why bother taking off the lower receiver / trigger group? You could have just... There's room in the case to have the carry handle on top of the gun, trigger group installed. Yeah, really weird.
And you could just collapse the stock, right?
Yeah, well, that's kind of where I was going, is... If we just fold that down, we take the magazine off maybe, that's going to fit into a pelly case, and then you would just have the magazines laid out. And the other bits we're seeing in there, we've got the guide rod and spring, recoil spring. So he's taken nearly the whole thing apart, I think. I don't see the bolt carrier, so it looks like the bolt carrier group is in place. Hang on, what's that on the bottom of the case, as it were, top of the screen? So we've got the recoil spring and guide rod, top left. Everything else is obvious. Oh, wait a sec. I'm being a bit dense, but at the same time, they don't show him installing it. So that is the magazine housing.
Oh yes, I see it now with the magazine catch on it.
Now, my question is, where are these? Where are the takedown pins? But in theory, they are installed in the butt. Well, let's remove our trigger group. Let's remove our magazine well. That's the bit that I didn't spot right away. And then the idea, so you don't lose these, because otherwise you can't put your gun back together when the enemy's shooting at you. You can stick those in there so you don't lose them. So somewhere there's a shot of this. Now there is something at the top of the case, or bottom of shot. Not sure what that is. I don't think it's one of those. They haven't taken off the handguard. They've left the handguard on, but they have removed the recoil spring and guide rod. Yeah, so they've left the bolt carrier group intact for some reason. Yeah, the carry handle is not removable with push pins. So they've used a screwdriver to remove that, and then they've cheated him putting it back on the gun with a screwdriver. Yeah, how weird. I don't suppose anyone cared watching it, but it's kind of intriguing to see what they've done there. Yes, it's sitting like that in the case with this off, but with the handguard on. So there's sort of a shortcut in putting it back together in the edit. If anyone knows of a reason why in the movie it's stripped down as far as it is, let me know. But on the face of it, it's nonsense.
Alice.
That's a needlessly complicated screen.
Yeah, this is when they get disavowed, so we get a sort of nice overview of the armory of the IMF.
Don't they get disavowed every movie?
They get disavowed a lot. You never see them get reavowed.
I was going to say, they've spent more time disavowed than avowed. Yeah, all sorts of stuff in there. G36C, 1911s, SIG-552. That should really just be in the ceiling and you pull it down. Yeah, we've got 229, SIG-229 in there. Mostly SIG pistols, I think. G36C and a SIG-552 or 551 Commando. The rifle on the top looks like an FNC.
I believe that's the DMR SIG-Sauer, but I suppose it ties in with the other SIG weaponry present.
Yeah, suspicious amount of SIG firearms there. Oh, that's a really, really Hollywood pew-pew. Anyway, so despite Ethan using a Beretta 92 for most of the films, we now have a SIG P226 or P226, which is still a good choice. Certainly was then. Simon Pegg drawing on his Hot Fuzz training for that. More disguised firearms.
Yeah, I forgot there were actually multiple firearms disguised as musical instruments in this scene. Or multiple disguised firearms, should I say.
It's almost like a Hot Shots Part 3 or something. Everyone in there is armed with disguised takedown firearms. And they're all furiously assembling them. Good shooting position though. Got the elbow on the inside of the knee there. I mean, it's not ideal, don't get me wrong, but if you don't have a convenient way to go prone or something, you're putting your body under a bit of muscle tension there, so it's not ideal. She probably could have just kneeled and aimed through one of the lower apertures. And there's a T800. Now that is interesting. That basic action where he's twisting and pulling it apart, that's how your typical concealed umbrella and walking stick cane type guns work. 410 shotgun often, or one of the Rook rifle type cartridges, and then the act of closing it together will often cock a striker, and a little trigger will pop down.
So we've got one weapon disguised as a musical instrument, one a piece of railing, and the other, I suppose, is less using the nightstick to disguise the weapon. The nightstick's supposed to turn it into a carbine. Better make this shot potentially.
I guess, but it is absolutely. It's a fun scene, but it's very, very silly that there are three people with outlandish firearms. Oh, that's such a well-sold hit. The infamous bicep cocking scene. Welcome to the gun show.
React to those guns reloaded.
This is where Tom gets to do his collateral shtick again, if I remember rightly. And a great shtick it is. Not quite as impressive as his collateral scene, I don't think. You've spotted it too. I love this scene.
It's been a long time since I've seen Collateral. Great movie.
Collateral's a fantastic film. I will take that over any protracted John Wick shootout or any in any film.
That's right. Prick.
It's so good. This one I really do want to watch again. I love the again storytelling through the medium of firearms and violence. They're getting all sort of macho and aggro with each other, and he just goes, right, well, if that's how it is, it's machine gun time. And if you do have to shoot out of a helicopter with something that isn't mounted to the helicopter, a Para Minimi is probably not a terrible choice.
He has a brass catcher attached to it. Is that something that's more standard for helicopter gunning? So you don't have brass going all across the helicopter or getting caught in something important?
Yes and no. Yes, in the real world. And as we know, Mr. Cruise likes to do all his stunts for real and himself. So there's no way they were going to let people shoot a blank converted machine gun out of a real helicopter in real life without using a brass catcher. This character in universe, would he give a monkeys about brass flying everywhere? Doubt it. Some fun transitions here between pistol and rifle. I like that as well. Shoving the butt into the sand dune as a way to keep it handy at short notice. That's a nice touch. Like, who came up with that? I'd love to know whose idea that was. They could have just dropped it on the dune, because as we know, an AK is probably going to work if you pick it up from that condition. So this is in 5.56, this AK.
Yeah, because it's the Romanian WASR-3, which is the 5.56 variant. So would that reliably as fire full of sand?
In terms of like absolute bomb-proof reliability, and you can see this in those meltdown videos you can see on YouTube, the 7.62 by 39 is running at the lower pressure that the weapon is designed to handle, and it goes forever before it blows up. In that kind of extreme scenario where you're just putting rounds through the weapon, round after round after round after round, on automatic, 5.45 is going to be less reliable, and from what I've seen, 5.56 even less so. Now, we need one of these. We have a pretty good collection of Accuracy International rifles. We don't yet have the AX series, although I have fired this one. So she has that on a tripod, by the way, locked in. It's not just balanced on something, it is attached. Good scope view there.
Oh, we held on the scope view, because is that an accurate scope view? Because I immediately thought of Dragonov.
Yeah, I think that's a... So what's that? That looks like an AI scope as well. Let me go and check. So we don't have that pattern of scope. There's a lot of flash out the end of that suppressor there. Probably the blanks. Yeah, now that's not identical to the Dragunov I've picked up, but that, it looks to me to be some pattern of SVD, or the PSO1 type optic. So, unfortunately, not the correct scope view.
We looked up why she's wearing an eye patch in this scene. I originally just thought it was because it looked cool, but it turns out she can't wink. She said in an interview it was an active thing because she can't wink.
So she physically can't close one eye?
Well, the thing is, I can't wink either. When I've been shooting and aiming through a scope, I look kind of silly because the other eye struggles. Whereas if I just cover one eye, my right eye is still wide open. So if she was trying to keep her left eye closed, she'd probably be doing the same thing as me, where I'm like weirdly squinting and you having to use my entire face to have to do it. So I think it retains a sort of badass look. And now, I mean, great, because next time I go shooting, I've got carte blanche to wear an eye patch. So I'm fine with this.
The fact that they built it into her sort of character and used the opportunity to have a look a bit like a pirate, I'm all for it. Yeah, interesting to revisit all of those films, or bits of all of those films. My impression is essentially unchanged on the sort of increasing, well, variable and then quite good quality of them, if I can say. They're all high quality films, but most people seem to like the later ones and maybe the first one. But I think the sort of the way the firearms are actually handled in the movies, not necessarily handled, but you know how they're selected, cast, represented, with a couple of blips, it was actually pretty consistent throughout. So I think the armourers and people involved there, the trainers, have consistently done a good job on these films. It's just that it doesn't always quite come together as a complete movie in the way that people expect. We hold these things to pretty high standards. I say that because, again, something like MI2, you released that in 1987, the world's going to, adolescent boys at the very least, are going to be absolutely wowed by that.
Thank you all for watching. Let us know what your favourite Mission Impossible film is, or what other media or franchises you'd like to see on the show in the future. And as always, a huge shout out to all of our patrons for help making this project and all of these episodes happen. Links to support the Royal Armouries will be in the description below, so be sure to check those out. But once again, thank you for watching, liking the video, commenting, subscribing, all of that good stuff, and I will see you next time.